I think when you're writing a book, it is really helpful to come to the place where your story is set. This is Arnhem, and this is the John Frost Bridge in Arnhem, which is a famous bridge, and it's along this river where my book Resist begins. And coming here has been really important to me. And sometimes when you're writing a book, coincidences happen, and I've had two coincidences today. Yesterday I was in Amsterdam walking to the Resistance Museum, to write my story about Audrey Hepburn in the Resistance, and I walked straight past like a massive dance school, and there was loads of dancers warming up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it made me think, hang on, like, this is a story about Audrey Hepburn who loved dance. That's like a really good sign. So I took that really positively, and now I'm here at this bridge, and right next to this bridge there is a beautiful statue fountain of two dancers, and as you can see, and right next to the bridge in Arnhem, and that really cements for me the story. It kind of adds a little bit of magic to me, that I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing. I'm writing a story about war here, the resistance in Amsterdam, and these little hints of dance keep coming up. It just feels right, and it feels good, and I feel like I'm doing the right thing with the book. And like, you can't plan for that. I hope this makes sense, but you can't plan for those coincidences. But those sort of coincidences give the story meaning to me, and really, I don't know, like add that sort of extra spark that gives me that impetus to really go for it with the book. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that because I'd not planned this, but it's happened, and so dance is a really important part of this book, as is resistance and, unfortunately, war. So, Resist is set, a lot of the action is set in the house where Audrey Hepburn lived during the Second World War, and this building here is in the place where Audrey's house was. And so coming here to read this for me is really exciting, because I've set most of the story here. And as you know, in the book there's quite a lot of dance involved, because the big thing in Audrey's life before the war and during the war was dance. And she actually, to occupy the minds of some of the younger children who were scared during the war, Audrey used to teach them dance. And this is a scene where she's in this house that was here. She's teaching some young children to dance, and then the Germans arrived, because in the house where she's teaching them to dance there's a British pilot hidden. This is a scene that I imagine some of it is based on the truth. She did used to teach children. There was a pilot hidden in her home, but I've because we don't know that much about what happened, I've made up this as a possible scene, which really shows how brave Audrey Hepburn was during the Second World War. I'll read you a brief section. The lessons began the next morning, light streaming in through open windows. Edda had the children clapping in time to the music and working on stretching exercises to make their muscles more supple for dancing. She taught them how to play a role using faces and bodies and pretend they were something they were not. But most of all, she tried to make this part of the day feel like fun, allowing them to forget their troubles for a while. Angie, her friend, helped by winding the gramophone player to keep the music going. At one point, Edda thought she heard a hidden paratrooper tapping his feet to keep time. She would have to warn him not to do that. Edda was teaching her third class of the day when they arrived. A large truck thundering up the road, skidding to a halt. German soldiers jumping out shouting. Why were they always shouting? Wo ist der Engländer? Where is the Englishman? Edda felt an overwhelming surge of panic. The enemy had come looking for British paratroopers. What if they found him? What would they do? She knew all too well. The punishment for hiding a British soldier would be brutal. Angie had frozen on hearing the Germans arrive, no longer operating the gramophone player, afraid of what would come next. Keep winding, Edda whispered encouragement to her friend, coming back to the moment. Knowing she had to stand up to the Germans now or everything would be lost. Edda said, keep dancing, all of you. The music resumed and the children began to dance tentatively as the sound of boots on the stairs grew louder. Wo ist der Engländer? Came the shout again. And then they were in the doorway, 3 Nazis. Edda could smell their sour soldier sweat. All had machine guns pointed at the children. Edda was terrified the Germans would find the pilot, scared too for the children. She turned to them. "Sit on the floor, all of you," she instructed. The children sat, many now crying in fear. Edda stood in front of her tiny, cowering dancers while attempting to look outraged, facing the soldiers and their guns as if she were a character in a dance, trying to do the thing she'd encouraged the children to do, to play a role, a heroine challenging a villain, to pretend she was brave and strong. She hoped the children would look small on the floor, small and vulnerable, so the soldiers might feel ashamed and leave. The seconds ticked by. None of the 3 soldiers spoke, nor did they step into the room. And then, after glancing at each other furtively, they lowered their guns. One even attempted to smile at the children. "Entschuldigen," one of the soldiers said, "excuse us." And then they were gone. Edda sat down on the floor among the children. Her legs felt like jelly now, the danger had passed. How had she found the courage to stand up to the enemy like that? She stared at her feet, stupefied, until she realised one of the little dancers she'd been teaching had stood up, come over, and was stroking her hair. She had to work hard not to burst into tears in front of the children.